Namaste. On behalf of INDICA Courses, I welcome you all to this webinar. Indic Academy aims to enable seekers through the selfless self-framework envisioned by our founder, Sri Harikiran Vadlamani. I encourage the audience members to look up Indic Academy on our website, indica.in, to know more about our various centers and platforms. INDICA Courses is a pioneering edtech platform from INDICA in the Indigenous Knowledge Systems domain. We create and curate online courses across multiple Indigenous Knowledge System disciplines, especially Indic Knowledge System disciplines, for lifelong learners who share our belief in the transformative power of timeless Indigenous wisdom. We've curated almost 100 courses by now, and we've had more than 2,000 students from across the globe patronize us, encourage us, support us through their participation in various cohort sessions. We have created the overview webinar series as an interface for prospective learners to understand what a particular INDICA course would offer, so that learners can make a very conscious decision about enrollment into the program. Today's webinar is a part of that series. Research methodology is an essential subject for any research scholar. India has its own homegrown methodologies and techniques of research, including specialized textual structures, coding and interpretation of content in large volume texts, and strict conventions of discourse. At INDICA Courses, we have curated a course to provide an insight into India's systematic approach to thesis and text construction. This is called Tantrayukti. Today's webinar has been organized so that you can get an overview of the INDICA course on Tantrayukti, the Indic method of thesis construction by our erudite faculty, Dr. Jayaraman Mahadevan. A doctorate in Sanskrit from the University of Madras, Dr. Jayaraman Mahadevan's research itself was on the doctrine of Tantrayukti. He's a gold medalist in MA Sanskrit and has a bachelor's in English too. Parangat in various streams of Indic knowledge systems, he has served as the Director of Textual Research Yoga at the Center for Consciousness Studies and Inner Transformation of Indica, and is now a faculty at SVyasa. I welcome you, Jayaramanji, and invite you to take us through this overview session.
Namaste, Dimpleji. Thank you for that introduction. My namaste to all the attendees. I'll start with a invocation. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahavirjang Karavavahai Tejasvina Vachitamastu Mahavidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So this overview session on Tantrayukti, which was briefly introduced by Dimple G, the coordinator in the Indic Academy of courses, Indic Academy courses. So here I would give a short introduction about the various aspects, dimensions, and also the approach to the course that I propose to adopt. Actually, this will be the third time that I will be teaching this Tantrayukti course in Indic Academy, INDICA Courses. So this indicates that this course has been received with much interest. So without much ado, I go into a small presentation that I have prepared towards giving an overview of this Tantrayukti. So Tantrayukti is the Indic method of thesis construction. And now currently, when we think of the current affairs, so what is on top, especially in research, especially in India-centric studies, etc., we can see that the spotlight currently is on Indian knowledge systems, which is shortly called as IKS. So We see that even the All India Council for Technical Education, which is the topmost body which regulates technical education in the country, various engineering streams and others. So that has started a cell on Indian knowledge systems. So to promote interdisciplinary research on all aspects of Indian knowledge systems, preserve, disseminate Indian knowledge systems for further research and societal applications. And even very, very eminent technical institutes like IIT Kharagpur also have started IKS divisions, IKS departments, where like the Center for Excellence in Indian Knowledge Systems has been established to bring forth a comprehensive research development and outreach base for promotion of various domains sorry, for Indian knowledge systems. So Indian knowledge systems is the current focus, or is in the gaining a lot of focus and attraction now. Now, when we see about these Indian knowledge systems, of course, there is a lot of interest, enthusiasm, and urge to bring out more content from the millennia-old, multiple millennia-old knowledge traditions of India in various fields, from civil engineering to public administration to the medical disciplines and phonetics and whatnot. So the content is a lot of focus, but is the focus to bring out that knowledge, traditional knowledge, use that traditional wisdom to address the current day, to find solutions for the current day problems or the requirements. So the focus is on the content, but it's quite known or obvious or evident that content cannot exist without methodology for the development of the content. So, so hence, when one focuses on the Indian knowledge systems as such, only with a methodical approach, sorry, if one has a methodical approach to unravel the content, only then the content therein in the Indian knowledge systems can be unpacked or understood or unraveled in a systematic manner, rather than doing a hodgepodge in bringing out the content of the Indian knowledge systems. Only when we are armed with the proper methodology which is akin to the Indian knowledge systems, then the extraction of wisdom from the traditional sources, the IKS, can be better, and the Tantrayukti assumes relevance as one among the very important aspects of the methodology for Indian knowledge systems, because it is used across so many disciplines in ancient India for text construction. So hence, a very good knowledge of Tantrayukti, a very good grounding of Tantrayukti will be very helpful for those who are working or who desire to work in IKS divisions. And one more thing is, as I mentioned, IKS has diverse disciplines from architecture to zoology, Arthashastra to Hastyayurveda. So the quantum of output is immense in Indian knowledge. So many disciplines and so many texts in each of the discipline, and their relevance. The relevance is felt even now. That's why the IKS divisions are being established across various eminent or prominent institutions. So this in a way, so again, when some knowledge has been passed down through millennia and it finds relevance even now, so its time-testedness itself is an indication that without a methodical approach, without a system, without a structure and framework, these could not have been passed down, handed down, and it could not have survived the ravages of time in terms of quality and quantity, what it contains. So, so this presupposes a very sound methodology, very good methodology, that is Tantrayukti. We can say that that Tantrayukti could be the one could play a very important role, or could have played a very important role in ensuring or in helping the systems of Indian knowledge to pass the test of time and pass the test of minds of people across millennia and centuries. And hence, so with that methodology, the output with this Tantrayukti methodology, the output has been enormous, and also it has survived the test of time, and hence it becomes again very very relevant and important that focus of current day research connected to Indian knowledge systems, especially Indian knowledge systems, should be on Tantrayukti. So arming oneself or informing oneself about Tantrayukti would play a very good role in helping this process of unearthing more and more relevant wisdom for in a methodical way for our current times from Indian knowledge systems. Not only that, if any methodology has helped production of knowledge or creation of knowledge, structuring of knowledge, and handing down of knowledge for so many years or so many millennia, so which indicates that its firm-footedness, its steadiness, which could be applied to other streams of knowledge also, which may be contemporary also, and hence Tantrayukti again assumes not only significance only for Indian knowledge systems, because it has served the Indian knowledge systems well. So it again, that itself gives it the proper kind of the position to be looked into for valuable inputs for other streams of knowledge, contemporary streams of knowledge also. Hence, for IKS, for non-IKS, whatever it may be. So since it's a methodology document, Tantrayukti is a methodology document, it could be considered by researchers cutting across disciplines. So that was the point. So this is the couple of slides, the initial couple of slides. Through that, I wanted to convey the relevance of studying an indigenous methodology for Indian knowledge systems. So currently we see the universities, I'm just showing you an image from one university on research, Kanchi University, which gives a paper on the research methodology, especially for the Sanskrit department. You can see the fundamentals of research, qualification of a researcher, types of research, tools of research, presentation of research, so on and so forth. These are the topics. These are the general topics that is covered in any research methodology paper. So if you can reduce it to the bare minimum or the core ideas, so basically we can see is what they are looking into in research methodology, in teaching research methodology is, one is content, structure and language of thesis. So what goes into creation of useful content, useful new content for a thesis, and how to structure that content in a systematic manner, and then how the language of the thesis should be so that it efficiently in an undiluted manner conveys the essence of the thesis. So in all the entire research methodology papers with all these units, we can reduce it to these 3 points in any research, in creating any new thesis or offering any theorem or principle or knowledge: content, structure and language. Now when we look into the next question, slowly we'll move into Tantrayukti. So do we have parallels in Indian tradition regarding thesis construction or anything close to this? So on content creation for a thesis or any discipline of knowledge, and structuring that content, and then having a very, very polished, nuanced language to present that content. Are there any inputs from Indian knowledge systems? We ask this question. Then we can see that there are various hints across literature, because as I mentioned earlier, the literature of Indian knowledge systems has various disciplines, covers various disciplines, and texts in those disciplines are also numerous, written across centuries. So when we survey it, at least even in a cursory manner, when we survey it from thought to thesis, That's what I say. From thought to thesis, we have a lot of hints towards the content of the thesis, structuring of the thesis, and the language of the thesis, developing the language. So, because for any research is in the form of an inspired thought or basically thought. So, with a question will arise in the mind. So, some inspiration, for example, whoever it was, the scientist Newton, the apple falling down. So, that particular thought or that particular occurrence that kicks off his process of research. So in this way, so a thought, a spark, so that's where the research starts. So in our Yoga Sutra literature, what are all the classifications of thoughts, which is called as Chitta Vritti. So thought, which is the seed of thesis, a thought which is the seed of thesis of a research. So that has been analyzed in detail in the Yoga Shastra in the form of Pancha Vrittis, 5 kinds of thoughts: Pramana, Viparya, Vikalpa, Nidra, Smriti. So right knowledge, wrong knowledge, imagination, Pramana, Viparya, Vikalpa, Nidra, and Smriti. That is a dormant state of mind and also memory. So, and each of this has been further defined and discussed. So what is thought itself, which is the root of any research knowledge? So that has been analyzed in detail. And then with a thought comes, so in making a thought into a thesis. So again, there are so many steps. So mere thought cannot, mere seed cannot emerge into a tree or a plant. So it has to be nurtured. So that thought has to be nurtured with questions and answers. So a lot of questioning has to go into developing that thought into a proper thesis. So questions and answers. So there are again lot of treatises in Sanskrita, in Indian knowledge system, which define question and also answer. How to ask a question, how to search for an answer. So various words like prashna, pricha, jignasa, all these words exist, and each of this has been well defined. And even also answer, how to answer. So with what answer we have to get satisfied, all that has been discussed. So a thought, the question and answer, again, it develops the thought better systematically. And then when a thought has developed into a substantial area, then we have an area of work. Slowly we come to define certain initial inspiration existed. We question a lot and try to find answer. Much more hypothesis emerged. And then when the hypothesis emerged, then we have to again define the area of work properly so that we can channelize our energies in a systematic, methodical manner. So for that, how to define an area of research. So we have this again in the Tarka Shastra, we have hints in that regard. For that we have Uddesha, Lakshana, Pariksha. Even in that Pariksha, we have Avyapti, Ativyapti, Asambhava, how to define the scope of any, how to create a definition. So definition itself has been defined. So, defining is again a very important aspect in working. So a researcher who defines his work, defines the scope of his work better, he is more focused and he is able to unravel the knowledge better. So, and then we see that again, once the scope of work is designed and defined, then logically the problem is developed towards a solution. Here we have this Panchavayava Vakya from Tarka Shastra, again Pratigna, Hetu, Udaharana, Upanaya, Nigamana. I'm not going into detail in these, about these now. I will elaborate in the course. So in this way, be it a thought, be it a question and answer that further develops a thought, then defining the area of work, then logically working towards a solution, and then defining a section of a thesis. We have it again in the Mimamsa Shastra, what is Adhikaranam, it is defined, and then stringing together. So after developing units, we string together one thought or one idea is conveyed throughout in a text so that it is cogent and it flows well. So for that again, we have hints in the Shastra, in the Sampradaya, and then again in refining the language also. Again, language plays an important role in in making a thesis sound. So there also we have definitions of Sutra, Bhashya, Lakshana, Sutra, Bhashya and Vartika. So in this way, when we started out looking for hints on content, structure and language, so developing original content, structuring that content, and then expressing that structured content in a very balanced language. So for all these things, we have hints in the vast Shastra lore that we have. So we have this hint from Mimamsa Shastra. Some are found in the tradition itself as such. And then this Yoga Sutras, they have provided. Then the Yajnavalkya Smriti in the Mitakshara, and then Tarka Bhasha, Tarka Sangraha. So the Indian knowledge systems are rich in insights towards offering inputs on content, structure and language aspects of developing a thesis. But for a student who wants solid inputs, solid grounds, a comprehensive manual. So the next question is, see, you quote from Yoga Shastra, you quote from Tarka Shastra, you quote from Yajnavalkya Smriti. Is there one source? Is there one stop shop which holistically, comprehensively addresses all these aspects of thesis construction, which has inputs on creating original content, then structuring it properly, and then expressing it in a proper research language? So that question will naturally come to the mind. So the same question has been asked by one Professor Lele. So he asks the question that had the ancient Indians conceived a form of scientific composition? Had they developed a method of treatment of the scientific subject in orderly manner? Did they expound all the aspects of given subject, or they confined their discussion to a few only? Did they reproduce the views of the past or the contemporary thinkers? And then what was their mode of making cross-references? What style did they resort to establish their new thoughts and ideas? And then did the idea of rendering the subject matter intelligible as well as enjoyable ever strike them? Had the ancient Indian intellectuals devised any methodology of writing scientific works? So even in this series of questions also asked by Professor Lele, so the same aspects of content, language and structure in a scientific methodical manner for scientific subjects. So about that the query has been raised, and then the response to the one-stop shop. So we have two things. These questions of Lele, Professor Lele are there, and then we also have the desire to have all these in one-stop shop. So can we have one document which gives all these together rather than going to Yoga Shastra, Mimamsa Shastra, Tarka Shastra, Smriti? So to that question, the answer is Tantrayukti. Tantrayukti is that manual. So all the questions that were raised by Professor Lele were raised having this question, having this answer in the mind. So Tantrayukti is the answer to all the questions that Lele raised. He is in a sense a pioneer in the field of Tantrayukti, where he has written he has done a solid work, substantial work in bringing to light the significance, importance of Tantrayukti. So his books are very fundamental in understanding the Tantrayuktis better. So now again, it's not only Lele, it has other scholars have also been attracted towards this topic. You can see chronologically, I'll give 4 or 5 quotes. All these are discussed in detail in the course. So other scholars like Shama Shastri, who translated the Kautilya Arthashastra for the first time in 1909, he describes Tantrayukti as plan of a treatise. Satish Chandra Vidyabhushana describes Tantrayukti as forms of scientific argument in his work on a primer on Indian logic. He gives this, and then Oberhammer in one of his papers he writes Tantrayukti as formal elements which gave form to a scientific work. And then N.G. Muthuswami, who wrote an introduction to the work Tantrayukti Vichara by Neelamegha Vishat. It's an Ayurveda-centric Tantrayukti work where he defines Tantrayukti as methodology and technique which enables one to compose and interpret scientific treatises correctly and intelligently, and so on and so on. There are so many more definitions. So many more scholars have been drawn towards this Tantrayukti. Hence, it is a very you can see the definitions themselves or the descriptions of Tantrayukti themselves vouch for what Tantrayukti promises to offer. So normally I'm just giving one example as to how Tantrayuktis are found in traditional treatises. For example, in Kautilya Arthashastra, Tantrayukti has been used. So where we can see that the list of yuktis are given here. Some of you may be able to read this Devanagari script, others may not be, but kindly don't worry. But in the course, we will give it in the Roman transliteration also. So, so you can see that in the 15th chapter of 15th Prakarana of Kautilya Arthashastra, Panchadasham Adhikaranam, a detailed treatment of Tantrayuktis have been given. So Kautilya gives the list of the Tantrayuktis. So Tantrayuktis are in the form of a list. You have Adhikaranam, Vidhanam, Hetvarthaha, Uddeshaha, Nirdeshaha, Upadeshaha, Apadeshaha, and so on and so forth. And Atikranta, Vekshanam, Vikalpaha, Niyogaha, Samucheha. So there are about 32 Tantrayuktis used by Kautilya here. And then, so the list is given, and then, so first Adhikaranam is the first Yukti, and that is defined here. So this is the statement of definition that Kautilya gives for Adhikaranam. Yamartham Adhikritya Uchyate Tad Adhikaranam. And then here you see Kautilya illustrates the application of Yukti. So where that particular Yukti has been applied in the text, how he has used this Yukti in his text. So as you can see, the standard or the classical way of using the Tantrayuktis or how Tantrayuktis appear in the text is the list is given, then you find the definition, and then the place of its application is shown by the author. And it was indeed a protocol that so many authors, so be it Charaka Samhita, Sushruta Samhita, Kautilya Arthashastra, and even in the Tamil tradition like Tolkapiyam and Nannul, it was a protocol. Just like in the current day PhD thesis submission, writing about the methodology adopted, whether it is comparative, whether it is explorative, whether it is analytical. So all these are stated. So why this approach is adopted, all this is stated as a protocol in the beginning, so that anyone who pursues or peruses the thesis will understand the approach. Similarly, in ancient India, Tantrayukti, mentioning of Tantrayukti and showing the yuktis that were used and then the place of their application in the treatise was indeed a protocol. So this is how you can see the yuktis appearing. And I'm just giving a small hint again. These are just an overview that I'm giving. All this will be discussed in detail in the course. So Charaka, who uses all these Tantrayuktis, he says about the functions of Tantrayukti is to facilitate exploration and interpretation of knowledge. Yatha ambujavanasya arkaha pradipo veshmano yatha prabodha prakasharthaha tatha tantrasya yuktayaha. Ambujavanasya arkaha. Ambujavana means a bed of lotus. And then or a forest of lotus, and then arka means sun. So just like the sun for the forest of lotuses, which means as the sun rises, all the lotuses bloom. And then pradipo veshmano yatha. So pradipa is lamp, veshma is house. So just like a lamp for the house. So how do they serve? Prabodha and Prakasha. See, the sun as it rises, the lotus blooms. So which is the prabodha, the opening up. So new areas open up by using these Tantrayuktis. Tatha Tantrasya Yuktayaha. So in the same way, the Tantrayuktis help. How? Just like the sun helping the bed of lotuses for the prabodha, for blossoming. So for blossoming of new knowledge, for exploration and development of new knowledge, Tantrayuktis help. And then prakasharthaha means just like see the evening, the sun sets, there is no light. So things are there in the house. The TV is there, the radio is there, or chair is there, the furniture is there, the kitchen, everything is there. But it is covered by darkness. So when a light is lit, so we know, oh, what is where and how they are kept. So that is prakasha. So vidyamana, those which exist, bringing them to light. So hidden meanings are those which have not been which have not been brought to light in much more clearer manner, which means proper interpretation. So Tantrayuktis serve two purposes: prabodha, blossoming of knowledge, new knowledge, and then prakasha means throwing more light on existing knowledge. See, just like the objects of the house, they already exist. It's not that they are created anew. Only the light is brought so that the existing knowledge becomes more clear. So Tantrayuktis also serve the purpose of prabodha and prakasha. So hence it is not that why I gave this shloka from Charaka is that Tantrayuktis one may have just a notion that Tantrayuktis were meant for something else, and then by implication we use it for some other purpose. So it is not that way. It is meant, it was meant as a methodology document. So we have Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is being quoted and used for purposes beyond what Krishna originally might have meant in management and so many fields. Now the application of Bhagavad Gita, so it's very good. It is necessary. So though it was addressed to Arjuna for a particular purpose, its universal application is there. So the other applications are a derivation from this. It is not in the case of Tantrayukti that way, that it was stated for some purpose and it is generalized for the research methodology. No, Tantrayuktis were meant for research, exploration of new knowledge and development of better interpretations to understand knowledge better. So in this way, the role of Tantrayukti and so many such other verses are there which will help us understand the function, how to use those Tantrayuktis better. So those will also be discussed in the course. And then Tantrayuktis, when we speak of them, the standard list is 32 yuktis that I showed earlier, Adhikaranam, Vidhanam, Hetvarthaha, etc. So those standard list is there of 32. Certain other texts like Charaka Samhita and others, they have more yuktis. And certain other texts like Yukti Deepika, they use only 12 yuktis. So the number of yuktis vary, but basically the standard list that we find is 32. Most texts have the 32 yukti list. So in Tantrayukti doctrine, if you say Tantrayukti as this methodology toolkit, this Indic methodology toolkit, one major fundamental central component of this methodology toolkit is Tantrayukti with these 32 devices. The others, there are other tools also in Tantrayukti where you have the Tantra Gunas, which are characteristics of a good treatise. What is a correct or a proper or an ideal treatise? And then Tantra Doshas. What are the flaws that impair the systematic treatise? So 19 Tantra Gunas and 15 Tantra Doshas. So this makes the toolkit complete. Tantra Yuktis, Tantra Gunas, Tantra Doshas. So this is the entirety of the Tantra Yukti document. So all this will be discussed, while the emphasis will be more on the Tantra Yuktis. Tantra Gunas and Tantra Doshas will also be mentioned, and discussed in but the central focus will be more time will be spent on understanding the Tantrayuktis, and of course an introduction and a brief elaboration or brief discussion on Tantra Gunas and Tantra Doshas will also form part of the upcoming course that starts on December 1st. Now, when we focus on the Tantra Yuktis now, which are the central elements of the course, we can see that again, these three Yuktis, these Tantra Yuktis, 32 devices, especially I will be discussing the Tantra Yuktis based on Kautilya Artha Shastra. See, because the list of the Tantra Yuktis and their definitions, they vary from text to text. Though there are agreement across the text on the on certain core Yuktis and their definitions are there, the variation is more. If we the variation also, substantial variation of interpretation or defining the Yuktis also exists. So if we keep looking into the variations, we will lose the core. Or trying to, so when we are trying to get into understanding the Yuktis, so we should start with one treatise. So in the upcoming program, in the Tantrayukti course, the discussion will be based on the Yuktis used by Kautilya and the definitions of Kautilya, and examples from Kautilya will also be given, and suitably examples from other treatises, especially the Ayurveda lore, will also be provided, so that it gives a solid, sound, focused introduction to Tantra Yuktis. And even those 32 Yuktis will be discussed in three parts. So those Yuktis that help in developing the content of the thesis, and those Yuktis that help in structuring, streamlining the content developed, 12 Yuktis, so 11 Yuktis for among the 32, 11 Yuktis in my understanding, 11 Yuktis contribute towards original content creation, 12 Yuktis contribute towards structuring the thesis, giving a solid structure, and then about 9 Yuktis are there which help in refining the diction and language of the thesis. So almost equal importance. Nothing has been relegated. So all content, structure, and language have been equally discussed, almost equally discussed, and this itself indicates the very balanced nature of the document or the methodology document called Tantrayuktis. So, for example, I'll just read out the list. So Yuktis like Samshaya, Anumatam, Apadesha, Hetvartha, Upadesha, Ekanta, Apavarga, Vikalpa, Samuchaya, Uhya. So these Yuktis, they help towards content creation. So I'll just give you one example. And I also give you the idea as to how these Yuktis will be discussed in the course. So we see that this Apadesha, I give one example for content. So Apadesha is a very interesting Tantra Yukti, which means literary review. That is, before developing something new, you should be aware of pre-existing knowledge in that field. Otherwise, suddenly one fine morning you wake up and then you think that you have found something and then you state it. People say that you have reinvented the wheel. So then there is that thesis, that knowledge is of not much use. So hence, in the creation of new knowledge, it is very essential that one is aware of pre-existing state of pre-existing knowledge, pre-existing status of knowledge in that field. So hence, Apadesha. So towards the creation of new content, new researched content, valuable content in any field, Apadesha is important. What is Apadesha? Kautilya says, Evam asau aha iti apadeshaha. On a particular topic, this has been stated by the such and such a person. This is called as Apadesha. So you have the Yukti here. This is the Yukti. This is the definition of the Yukti that is given by Kautilya, and then followed by the definition. Kautilya himself illustrates that how he has used this Apadesha. So, Mantri Parishadam Dvadashamatyam Purvita iti Manavaha Chodasha iti Barahaspatyaha vimshatihi iti aushanasaha yatha samarthyam iti Kautilyaha. So in Mantradhikara, in Kautilya Arthashastra, we see this illustration for literary review. So the question under discussion is, how many members, public administration is the subject of Kautilya Arthashastra. So now the discussion is about Mantri Parishad or the Council of Ministers. So how many should be there in the Council of Ministers? So Kautilya states that Kautilya exhibits the awareness of pre-existing views in this particular question about the number of members in the Council of Ministers. Dwadasha iti manavaha. So the followers of Manu say that the number of people in the council should be 12. Shodasha iti Barhaspatyaha. Followers of Brihaspati say that the council can have 16 members. The followers of Ushanas, or that school of Ushanas, they say 20 is the number in the Council of Ministers. But so having stated all these pre-existing views, then Kautilya states his view. So his original view, original contribution comes after quoting, after bringing to the table the pre-existing knowledge. Only then the why of it will be more clear. The purpose of it, the utility of it. Kautilya does not give a number. He says, Yatha samarthyam iti Kautilyaha. Depending upon the capability. So he doesn't give a number. He says, according to the capability. According to the capability of the king, and according to the samarthya also means the potential. So according to the potential and the requirement of the kingdom, the number of the council of the ministers should be determined. So the bringing together of pre-existing knowledge has for Kautilya has given him the hint that specifying a particular number may not be so scientific or may not be universal in its application across countries. So depending upon the capability of the king, depending upon the requirement of the kingdom, some kingdoms may be small, some kingdoms may be big. So depending upon those factors, the number of the council of ministers should be determined, which is the original knowledge that Kautilya contributes. So for the content creation in this original manner, so this awareness and quoting of pre-existing knowledge, which is called as Apadesha Tantrayukti, has certainly helped. So this establishes the research methodology. So how this utilization of Yukti has led to the creation of some universally applicable input in the context of public administration. So this is one example for content creation. So as I said, there are about 12 yuktis in content. So in this way, there are so many such yuktis, so which we will elaborate. So I will also present the views of the utility of the yukti as discussed by Lele, and then in the Tamil tradition also the same yukti is used. That will also be pointed out in the course of discussion of the yuktis. So then for structure, with regard, so we have seen the example of one from the 11 yuktis about how the Tantrayukti reminds the researcher, or how it facilitates the creation of original knowledge by giving the right inputs to the researcher in making him look into the pre-existing knowledge in any given field. Now, then we come to structuring. So structuring of thesis, structuring of knowledge created. There we have 12 yuktis: Adhikarana, Vidhana, Uddesha, Nirdesha, Purvapaksha, Uttarapaksha, Atikrantavekshana, Anagatavekshana, Atidesha, Pradesha, Prasanga, Viparyaya. So 12 yuktis are there which help in the structuring of the thesis in a very solid manner. So again, the same methodology will be followed in elaborating the yuktis for the structure also. So we have the name of the yukti, you have the definition, and then you have the illustration. And of course, the function of the yuktis will be given as discussed by Lele, and then the Tamil parallel will be given. So this is the methodology. So this will be the methodology that will be followed in exploring the yuktis. So now let's focus into this yukti, which helps in structuring the thesis. So adhikaranam is a yukti which stipulates the author to state the title or the subject matter of the text concisely and precisely right at the opening of the treatise. Yam artham adhikritya uchyate tad adhikaranam. So this yukti instructs the author of any thesis to state the content to be elaborated, to state the content as compactly and as completely as possible, the content which is going to be elaborated in the course of the treatise. So that is adhikarana yukti. So which is very essential, means only a person who is able to concisely and precisely and compactly and yet comprehensively able to state his subject matter properly will be able. So that shows that a researcher should be able to compact his knowledge and present it in right at the opening of the treatise. So that presupposes structuring at the thought level to present the thesis content in as concise and compact manner as possible. So this is a hint towards compacting the content, so which is structuring. So Kautilya has done that. The illustration will show that Prithivyaha labhe palanecha yavantyarthashastrani purvacharyehi kritani prayashaha tani samhritya ekamidam arthashastram kritam. So in the beginning of Kautilya Arthashastra, Kautilya says, what is this Kautilya Arthashastra and what am I doing in this treatise? He says that Arthashastra is all about Prithivyaha labhaha palanam. Prithivyaha, the earth or the country, labhaha, acquiring, palanam is maintaining and protecting it. So Arthashastra is about labha and palana of Prithvi, that is acquiring and maintaining the land or the country. So that is Arthashastra. Okay, that may be Arthashastra. What have you done uniquely in your treatise? Asmin purvacharyehi kritani. So many purvacharyas, many earlier acharyas have worked on this. Prayashaha tani samhritya. All those views have been collected. Ekamidam arthashastram kritam. As there are so many treatises, so many views, confusions, confounding, etc. exist, all those have been compiled and then a systematic treatise on Arthashastra has been done. So this gives the scope, the area and also the approach of the author right in the opening. See, these are the opening lines of Kautilya Arthashastra in the beginning itself. So this is Adhikarana Tantrayukti, which is very essential, which shows that this person who has written this thesis has a very good grasp of the subject and presents it or is capable of presenting it in a systematic manner. So these are about this is about the yuktis. So we have seen yukti on content. We have one yukti example on structure, and then we'll see one yukti for the language aspect. Again, there are 9 yuktis: Padartha, Yoga, Vyakhya, Nirvachana, Upamana, Nirdashana, Vakyashesha, Arthapatya and Swasamjna. So these yuktis these yuktis on language help in clarify and explain, imply and refine, and also invent. So it also impels the language, invent the language, because any thesis, any new knowledge creation means emergence of new thought. When the emergence of new thought is there, the language should also be new, means to suit that particular thought, concept or principle. So invention is also part, as invention is part of the research itself, invention at the level of language also becomes essential in the in the path of research methodology. So Swasamjna is one such yukti you have. I've just taken that as example. Paraihi asammitaha shabdaha swasamjna asadharanaha paraihi anya shastraihi. A word unknown to or not common in other treatises, which is uniquely used by the a particular new treatise, means which is a original knowledge created by that particular author. So for that, remember that you can create new words. So this gives an idea to the researcher that if you have hit upon a new concept, you can create a new word for that. So this yukti reminds the researcher to that end. So for example, I'm not going into, for want of time, I'm not going into detail of the examples. So Kautilya has invented new words for his Shastra, Bhumyantara, Bhumyekantara. All these are examples for Kautilya's invention of new words, Swasamjna Yukti, for his knowledge that he has created. In other Shastras also, we have such Swasamjnas. So in this way, you can see the interesting, very compact, systematic approach of Tantrayuktis. And these Tantrayuktis are found not only in Kautilya Arthashastra, so they are present in other Shastra literature also, which indicates its presence across Indian knowledge systems. The history aspect of it, of Tantrayukti, will also be discussed in brief in the main course. Of course, not only in the Sanskrit tradition, even in the Tamil Pali traditions also, Tantrayuktis as such and parallels to Tantrayukti are found. Neti Prakarana and Petakopadesha in Pali, and Yuktis, Tantrayuktis as such, Yuktigal, Uttigal, Tandira Uttigal, they have been used in Tamil tradition also. So which makes it truly a methodology for Indian knowledge system. See, not only Samskrita knowledge systems, for Tamil, for Pali, and for Samskrita, Tantrayukti has been the methodology document. So hence, truly it becomes a IKS tool for unraveling knowledge. But what is the current status of Tantrayukti? It should have been a methodology, as part of methodology in research paper. It could be used for evaluation of PhD thesis and so on and so forth. But even in the current scenario, we don't see much understanding or utilization of the thesis of Tantrayukti. There may be westward gaze, may be one reason as to why these Tantrayuktis are not used. And internally also, there is a lot of scope of work. So intertext, intratext, intertradition, because as Tantrayuktis are found in Pali, Tamil, and also in Samskrita, intra-tradition, even in Tamil tradition or in Samskrita tradition, the one list of Tantrayukti is different from the other list of Tantrayukti. And even in the self-same text, one commentator of Charaka Samhita defines one yukti in a different manner, other commentator defines in another manner. So all these are to be resolved, but all this also gives rich inputs. So all these intertext, intratext, intertradition differences gives so many shades and variations of interpretations, which makes Tantrayukti a very rich document. But much work needs to be done. So hence, so the purpose of the course is to draw the attention and provide an introduction to this interesting, exciting research methodology manual to the stakeholders, be it the researchers or those who are guiding the researchers or those who are in the position to make policy with regard to research methodology in Indian knowledge systems, in other systems of knowledge. So only when the stakeholders are made aware about the potentials and the beauty of Tantrayukti, then slowly more work can be done. Much research needs to be done in addressing this intertext, intratext, intertradition variations of Tantrayukti. So this Tantrayukti, which is a unified Indic textual methodology manual for IKS. So an introduction, balanced introduction to it will be attempted in the course, and this course only will be a starting point. It's not that we will know everything of Tantrayukti. As I said, much work needs to be done. What requires to be done and what is the scope of work, all this at least will be hinted or will become more clearer, and the application of Tantrayuktis for our own areas of research, how to do it. So an idea about that will also be gained when I would see you in the upcoming Tantrayukti course. I hope I have provided an introduction to the Tantrayukti. I stop here and wait for the questions or queries.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mahadevan. That was so enriching. I mean, if this overview is such, I mean, I can only imagine what the course would unfold. Coincidentally, Rachna ji, one of the audience members, has asked a question that I was about to pose to you. So if you could just have a look at the question, please. I am assuming, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Rachna ji, that you are not necessarily doing research in IKS field. So therefore, this question.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, both in IKS and non-IKS fields, as this is a time-tested methodology, hence it will certainly be used, and it can be quoted also, in the thesis also, as because a few theses on Tantrayukti have emerged already. So one can quote those thesis material and the books that I have mentioned about Professor Lele, and then use it very well for IKS and non-IKS subjects in the process of creating one's own thesis.
Aarti ji has a comment that she knows Dr. Lele from her childhood from Varanasi. Wonderful. I have one more question, and I welcome and encourage the audience members. Aarti ji, would you like to ask a question? I see you have raised your hand. Koti ji, can we let Aarti ji? Okay, before that, there's one more question by Satya Papuji. Jayaraman ji, would you like to?
I saw that. I missed the beginning of the lecture. What are the learning objectives of the course? Do we have a project at the end to apply the concept that we can? Of course, there is an assignment will be given. As I said, there are three stages. That is the content, structure, and language aspects of the thesis. We will have appropriate assignments at various parts of the course. Though there may not be a end course project. In the course of the course itself, there will be midterm assignments that will help absorb the material well, and the objectives of the course is, as I said in the beginning itself, that all those who are involved in IKS subjects, be it yoga, Ayurveda, or public administration, Arthashastra, or whatever subjects, Bhagavad Gita for management, or whatever subject they are doing, IKS subjects, as this is an indigenous or intrinsic methodology for the Indian knowledge systems, this will help them grasp the language and content or the approach that has been adopted by those ancient authors better, to draw the ideas, principles better, and develop one's own thesis for IKS subjects. And of course, for non-IKS subjects also, certain general guidelines and principles can be absorbed from this course. And this will also, the objective, among the objectives, it is also to be noted that this also it is to showcase that knowledge was not a mere inspiration. There was a lot of perspiration also in developing the knowledge in a systematic manner. So to showcase the Indian knowledge systems well-groundedness also, that is also another approach. When the very concept of IKS is kind of in the mainstream academia is new, so its soundness needs to be established by presenting that this IKS systems are based on sound methodology. So it will also be a kind of, the objective also includes a kind of education about the solid groundings of Indian knowledge systems, apart from giving hints on thesis construction.
Thank you, Jayaraman ji. There is one more comment by Subin ji.
The reference of Tantrayukti course mentions one book by Dr. Muthuswamy, isn't it an English translation of original work by Neelamegha Bishak? Of course. In the introduction where Neelamegha Bishak has given, the introduction is in English, but the content is in Sanskrita. I don't think a translation of that text exists.
Aarti Khareji would like to ask a question, so I am allowing her onto the panel so that she could ask. Aarti ji, please ask your question.
Namaskar, sir. Good evening. First of all, thank you so much for giving, and ma'am, thank you so much for giving such an opportunity to attend this webinar. Though the field is so vast, and I remember I go back to down the memory lane of 40 years back when I was in school in Varanasi, and W.K. Lele was my uncle, neighborhood uncle, and he wrote a book on the doctrine of Tantrayuktis. That time I heard this word Tantrayukti, and still it resounds.
Wonderful to know this, madam. Actually, when I started...
Sir, I would like to add one thing. My husband is a typographer and calligrapher. He is wanting to do PhD, but he was not having, like, he has designed multiple Indian language fonts, a specific Devanagari font as well as the Vedic fonts, starting from letterpress to today's digital era. He has developed so many fonts. So we would like to know how we can talk about doing a research under you, or I don't know whom. He would like to definitely do. He's right now, he's not there. So I'll definitely pass this. And I would like to do also know about this Tantrayuktis. I remember that. I always wanted to know about this. And it's really amazing to have that. It's like, you know, in a comprehensive, yet in a short, descriptive manner, you have put it everything across on this. And it's like, you know, it's a kind of spark, you know, as you said, what the word you use, like, you know, Prabodha and Prakasha. And my husband name is Rajiv Prakash, though, Rajiv Prakash Khare, or Rajiv Prakash, you can search for. He's a font designer and calligraphy. Both of us are from IIT Bombay, and we did masters from IIT Bombay. I did research from IIT Delhi, and I want to do something for, like, you know, I don't know. Right now, I'm not having a clarity of thought, but definitely I would like to do something in this. And I would
Aarti ji, we welcome this sharing that you have brought to this forum, and we would love to see you and Rajiv ji both in the course. And if you both enroll, we are happy to offer scholarships and grants too. Please do write to us at reachout@indica.courses. Sure. I'm just adding it, and I would like Dr. Mahadevan to correct me if I'm wrong. It's not necessarily, Tantrayukti is not necessarily for people who are essentially doing PhD or research. It is also a way of, you know, kind of reprogramming how we look at things, how we read, how we critically examine things, how we present, how we make deductions. So it is of importance to any intellect that is curious, is in an open learning mode, and it would enrich them. But of course, it is important, especially for folks like our audience member Rachna Mittal ji. So thank you so much, Aarti ji.
Thank you so much, sir. Namaskar, sir.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Like you said, madam, I just wanted to add this. When I did this Tantrayukti in pre-corona era, when I did this Tantrayukti workshop offline, very interesting, very eminent universities. In the audience, I had journalists, I had bankers, I had lawyers. So from diverse fields. So in their own field, this can be a value addition.
True. I know that it is our Indic language, or I can say the knowledge system is so deep and so vast that if we keep on digging out, every time we come up with some new thing, new knowledge, and it will be addition to maybe in the knowledge of maybe the language as well as the script as well as in design, because I am from the design, both of us are from design background, and we would love to do something in design specifically for maybe Indian design or Indian iconography. I don't know right now. Right now, I'm overwhelmed, with the thought. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aarti
Thank
ji.
you.
Lovely interacting with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have a query from Dr. Renuka Anvekar. So if you would like to.
Okay, I saw this question. This is a very interesting question. I know Dr. Renuka ji is from Ayurveda background.
Yeah.
So as an Ayurveda doctor, will this course be redundant for me? Of course not, madam. Because Ayurveda, see, the same Tantrayukti is in the Ayurvedic dimension. So how is it presented? You are well aware of it. So when you see how Kautilya uses the self-same yuktis to use it for his field, it may open up new avenues in your exploration of Ayurveda, in your own utilization of Ayurveda yuktis for Ayurveda treatises. In that sense, though as I said, the yuktis name may be similar, but the definitions are different, and the illustration adopted by each of the author who has used it are different, and hence, more than being redundant, it will add new spaces of mind spaces in exploring newer dimensions of your own discipline better.
Thank you so much, Jayaraman ji. We have another. Mohan Dadar ji has a question.
Yeah. Has anyone done any work in analyzing a contemporary thesis or research paper using Tantrayuktis and tabulating matches and mismatches and the deficiencies? We invite you. Means in that sense that introducing this topic to more and more audience is to invite more people to get into the field, and we should all do it together. Of course, in my knowledge, 2 PhD theses have evolved. Even in the work of Professor Lele towards the end, he says that these yuktis need not be merely studied and then one moves on. They have to be applied in such analysis as you have pointed. So my work in this thesis, in this course would be to place before you these Tantrayuktis, and researchers, scholars, those who are interested are most welcome to do the work. To my knowledge, this contemporary analysis is yet to be done.
Thank you so much, Jayaraman ji. Is there any other question from the audience? Any question? And I'm sure that, some folks who are participating right now, they might have questions later, or members of the audience who watch us on Facebook or any other platform later would have queries. In that case, I would encourage you to reach out to us at reachout@indica.courses. Send us your queries. You can write the name of the course in the subject line, and we will surely get back to you. Thank you so much, Dr. Jayaraman Mahadevan, for taking out your precious time and really providing more than an overview of this course. This webinar in itself has turned out to be a very, very enriching, enlightening session in its own, as an isolated session itself. So I hope that today's webinar has helped the audience members, and I hope that the audience members would also share this information with people or like-minded seekers, learners who might benefit from the program. As we said, it is important for research scholars, but it is of utmost importance to other folks also, as Dr. Jayaraman clarified that there were so many members in an offline course also. So I would like to thank you, Dr. Jayaraman. I would like to thank all the attendees and quite a few repeat faces. We really appreciate you turning up and participating and encouraging this way. And I hope to see a lot of you in the course, which begins from the 1st of December. We also have scholarships and grants for which you should go to our website, indica.courses. You can write to us, and on case-by-case basis, we do provide that as well. So look forward to meeting you in class on 1st of December, and the series of overview webinars of Indica courses will continue. We will be there with another overview webinar next weekend. Thank you, Dr. Jayaraman ji. Thank you, members of the audience. Thank you, Koti ji, and my other colleagues at Indica and Indica.courses. See you next weekend. Namaste.